Hi, I'm Don Meisner, host of Rod and Reel Streamside. I gotta tell you, the Hydra has given me some incredible fishing experiences. And what I'd like to do over the next little while is share everything I know about what makes this such a great lure and how you can get the most out of it. Now, you gotta remember something. I pretty much discovered the Hydra. And when I did, I didn't have a clue what it could do. All I knew that it was a head designed to fish a dead minnow in Quebec. But after doing dozens of shows and catching probably thousands of fish, and some of them real trophies, I've come to realize that there's just about nothing the Hydra can't do. I want to describe what each one is and help you to be able to choose which one you should use under what circumstances. And as we begin, the larger ones, the largest ones that you see here are called the 25s. This is a great bass size lure. It's good for northern pike, walleyes, just about anything that swims. And then underneath those is the next size down, which is called the 15. The 15 is a great lure of tremendous versatility because it's still long enough that big fish will attack it, but yet it's the size that most every other fish eats. So this lure can be effective for trout, it can be effective for panfish, good sized panfish, but it's also a wonderful bass lure. And then below that is the little 10. This is a very little lure, as you can see by the difference in the size of my finger, but it's a wonderful lure because it has tremendous application potential. And the more I fish, the more I come to realize that the 10 is kind of its own little lure. It swims just like a live minnow. Well, now that we've looked at the different sizes, I want to take the Hydra. Now I'll take this 25 because it's a little bigger and it'll be easier to show you. And I want to look a little closer at the Hydra. I want to show you what you really have here, because on the surface, it's another lure. You say, okay, this is a lure and it has a lip, so therefore it must dive and wiggle like a crankbait. That's what lips do, don't they? Well, this is different. And so we want to look at those components. First of all, it's a special, soft plastic tail designed specifically for the Hydra. The tail gives a certain action, a certain look, a certain profile in the water. But the real key to the Hydra, the real magic, is in the head, in the design of the head. The head was originally designed in Quebec, Canada, by 3 fishermen, hunters, sportsmen that were trying to meet a problem. You see, what happened in Quebec is the government said you can't use any more live minnows. And that's how most people fished. So these guys came up with a way to take a dead minnow and make it look alive, to make it look enticing to fish. And that's how the Hydra began. And this head was designed to take a lifeless, inert body and bring it to life and make it look good to the fish. Well, it does the same thing for these special made tails. And in the head, you have this lip, which in this case is molded in and is actually a rudder. It gives the lure balance. And then also you have a ballast type mechanism that's built in here, counterweights, that make this lure, and the intent of the designers was that this lure could be run at any speed that you would ever fish in fresh water and stay stable. So keep that in your mind, that this lure is designed differently. It's designed to do a different thing. It's a very neutral lure. We talk about neutral balance. So that in the water, you do not have a lure that you're going to start cranking and it's going to dive down and do what other lures have done before. It's going to pretty much stay at the same depth, and it's going to be pretty much so sensitive to everything that you do that you can really make this lure do magic. Now, let's disassemble this and look at the 2 different parts. And also in doing that, I can show you just how to put your lures together. Now the tail is designed, we'll just pull it out here very slowly. It actually sucks itself onto the head and becomes almost a really strong meld or mold. But you have 2 parts. You have the head and the tail. And when you put your lures together, it becomes very simple for you because the tail itself has a hole that's made into it where the spike goes. So the 2 go together just like so. You see how easy it is to put it together. But when you put it on, you want to push it right up tight so the two are joined together, like so. Okay? Now we've got the lure assembled, so to speak. But there's two things left to do, and this is very, very important. You're going to hear me talking about this over and over again. When you put the top hammerlock in place, this is what holds the top down. You have to make sure that you put it in the center of the tail. Now turn this to you so you can see. And so you just line it up in the center and push it in. That will hold it in place. But you don't want to put it off center, because remember, this is a finely balanced tune tool that requires you to do these two little things. Then when you put the hook in, you turn it over. Now you could run this if you were trolling with the hook lying loose, but I really don't recommend that unless you're really in open water, because the way I've always done it is I take one of the treble points, it doesn't matter which because it will pivot, but select one of the points of the hook and insert it into the bottom of the tail. But when you insert it, again, make sure that you put it right in the middle. You don't bring it off to one side, because you don't want that hook to pull the lure to one side when it swims. So when you've selected the center, insert it and push it in until you get it so the hook is lying right flat against the bottom. You don't want it lying to the side, you want it centered in the middle. Just like so. Now you're ready to fish. Now these two hooks here, the remaining two, will be in a flat plane, and they will help this to go over obstructions and not hook up. Really helps keep your lure snag proof. So now we have our finished product and we're ready to fish. Now, if we want to change tails, we can do it very easily by just unsnapping our hammerlock, just doing everything in reverse. You unsnap it, turn it upside down, take this hook point out of the body, and then just pull it apart and insert another tail. And you can change the look of the lure that easily. You know, one of the great things about the Hydra family of lures is the tremendous versatility. Not just the versatility in each and every lure, but the versatility in the different sizes that come in the Hydra family. And we've looked at the 25, the 15, and the 10, which will cover most freshwater conditions. But I'll tell you what, there's a lot of big fish out there, and there's a lot of big fish that sort of govern the vacations that people take each year in search of that trophy. So there's also two other hydras that I want to show you that you've probably seen me catching fish with. This is the granddaddy of them all. This is the lure that I sort of coined with my name on it. This is the 45. And it's an awful lot bigger than the little 15 that's above it. The 45, in my estimation, is the greatest big fish, trophy, lunker, monster fish lure that I've ever seen, that I've ever used. And whenever I've gone on trips where there's a chance of catching these huge fish, this is my go-to lure. And I got to tell you, there's been so many experiences where I've gone to places, people had never seen this before. People that run the camps or outfitters, and they'd look at this and they'd say, geez, never seen anything like that. You sure the fish are going to hit it? And yeah, well, if you say so, but, and you knew they didn't believe me. By the end of trip after trip, not only were those people believers, but I had gone home with footage of the biggest fish that I'd ever caught up to that point. And this happened to me for salmon, for landlocked salmon, for northern pike, for muskies, for striped bass, for monster lake trout. And I know it can go on. I know that there's species that I haven't fished for that once they see this big hydra, that they're going to hit it. Now, why? You must wonder what makes that so good. And it's the same properties built into these big ones that are built into the smaller ones. That tremendous neutral buoyancy, that tremendous ability to be fished at different speeds and to dart around. But I think the most important thing of all is, more than any other lure that's ever been offered, these hydras look like real fish in the water. They move, they sound, they probably even feel like real fish when the fish come and hit them because of this Duraflex body. So something about it will trigger strikes from these monsters that have been conditioned to almost everything. They grew to be huge because they were smarter. They were genetically superior to the other fish, and yet they fall for this hydra. So this is the big one. We fish it a little differently. We need heavier tackle to throw it. We need heavier tackle to be able to manipulate it. But by heavy, I'm just talking about freshwater tackle. And in between there is this sort of bridge the gap. And I'll put it together as we're looking at it, and that's just how easy. I never even think whether the lures are together or not because it's just the simple operation. This is the 35. It lies in between the 25 and the 45. Another big fish lure, and in the fall, this lure can be more effective than anything for big bass. Bass that are even 4 or 5 pounds will readily take these big lures, more than they will a little lure, especially during those times when the weather's going to change and they're going to feed up for winter. These are wonderful big fish lures.